Hello, thanks for joining me. We're going to take a little bit of time to walk through how to post a project page on Public Lab. Now, project pages are a great way to collate all your material together into one spot when you're working on a project. All of your research notes, your questions, activities you've done. Project pages are not great for if you're posting for the first time on Public Lab. So if that's you, welcome. But there are some other ways to get started, and I might suggest that you visit the issue brief page first if you're interested in talking about or sharing about an environmental issue or concern that you have. There's also the question and answer page if you want to post just a question out on Public Lab. And then if you just want to say hello and write a research note and talk a little bit about yourself and your interests, you can just use this blue post button right up here. But project pages are, once you have some of that material together, maybe you've posted for a few times on a specific issue, you might want to think about creating a project page. So this page collects some of the information for how you would go ahead and post a project. But before we walk through this and do a run through with the template, I'm going to just show you some examples of project pages on Public Lab. So this page is a mapping project that was done by a group of students in St. Louis, mapping along the Mississippi River. So here we have a little bit about the project, the location of where the project was done, some information about the goals and motivations, people who were involved in the project, their current status of what they're working on now. And there's this neat button here that allows you to subscribe to get updates on this project. So this is a really good opportunity for, you have a landing page for your work, but you can also allow people to follow along. So anytime somebody posts something new to your project, anyone who's following this, who's subscribed to your project, will get an email notification about a new post or new material. So these are all the research notes that have been posted on this project. So any research note that has your project tag, and I'll talk a little bit about the project tags in a little bit when we get to creating a page. And then there's the spot for questions. Now there's no questions that are on this project currently, but say I had a question about, how they did something, or maybe they have a question while they're doing the project. You can click this button here and it will post the question to the project page and also share it out with the broader Public Lab community. This section here is about the activities that have been done on the project. And this is a great log in terms of sharing what the things that you specifically have done as a group to help you create your project or create your data or materials. So you can add an activity yourself. Say there's something new that you've done. You can create a step-by-step for what you did and explain your, what you did to create your data or what you did when you went out in the field. And this adding activities is really helpful because not only does it explain what you've done in your project in a step-by-step way, but they're really useful for other people. So, if you're working on, say, for example, this mapping project, and maybe you created a new kind of rig to loft your camera in the air, you can post an activity about how to make that rig for your camera, and then other people are able to see, what you did, how you did it, and replicate your activity. So it can be useful in other use cases. You can also add on here activities that other people have done or have authored, and I will walk through how to do that towards the end of this video. Finally, down here you have the data for your project. There's some maps that are shared on here, so you can see some of the things that have been produced on this project. For another project page, this is a mapping project that's happened in Lebanon at a refugee camp. And similarly, you'll see the structure. There's the little text here to introduce the project, some information who has been organizing on this. So we're actually linking out to people's profile pages on Public Lab who are involved in this project. There's the similar subscribe button. Here are the research notes that have been shared on the project, the activities that have been done on it. And down here on the bottom, they're actually sharing out some of the publications, places where this project has been featured. And that's another example of a project page. So how you would create a project page. This is the URL that you use for finding the template. And you can just go to publiclab.org/projects. You don't actually need the wiki part. And on here, we've sort of walked through some of this already, who to do it. But I just want to point out that there is an opportunity to reach out and get some help if you're looking for some support in creating this page, or if you want to share out about your project. There's a live call every Tuesday, and here's a link to it. There's also a chat room that you can jump in on, or if you have a question, you can use that same question answer interface to ask a question about any issue or anything that you're running into in this process. Great, I'm just gonna click the template here so we can check out what that looks like. All right, so up front here we have the name of your project. Now this text is also important because what you put in here the first time that you hit publish on your project page, this text is what creates the URL. So here we've seen this is the URL for this project, so this is the title that they used the first time that they posted the title of their project. So be sure that that's what you want here, but you can, just to note, all of the material, including the title, you can come back and edit later. As long as you hit publish that first time, you're going to grab that URL for your project, and that's where it will live, and you can come back and edit it whenever you would like later. So below here you have some information, right? Like you can walk through this as a reading exercise. It says this is a template. So you can actually delete the text here and you could write your own intro to your project. And that's what's going to show up on the top of your project page. This little guy here, this indicates that this is a header. So we're prompting you to add some information about the location. Similarly here, what are your goals and motivations related to the project? Now, if you're interested in having a different header, you don't want to talk about any of these specific things, or you want to talk about something else, you can add your own headers. Maybe you want to talk about project history. You can add that and then add your text down here below, and it'll show up just the same. Okay. So once we get to this section, we're talking about the people who are involved. You can include a hyperlink out to maybe an organization that's involved with your work. You'd put the name here, highlight the name, and then add the link right here. Okay. You can also create a link out to people's profile pages who maybe are involved in public labs. So you would do that by putting the @ symbol and then putting the profile name of the person who has been working on or will be working on the project. Okay. So this spot here for what you're working on now, this is a place that you'll have to come back and manually edit in order to update it. So if you're thinking, well, I don't really want to come in and give manual edits all the time about our status, you can delete this text. But this is a really good spot for quick onboard for people in terms of what's currently going on. What might I be able to help with, or what are you doing in your next couple steps? It's just nice to have a little block text there for context for people. Okay, so once we get below this line I'm drawing right now, we start to get into some of the smart parts of the project page. So these are some of the interactive pieces that make the project page more of an active space. So the first thing that it's asking you to do is create a tag name for your project. So by that I mean to have the term that you're going to use that's going to collate your materials together. So say that maybe, for example, you're working on a project related to water quality. If I your tag names for your projects need to be specific. So if I used, for example, that water quality tag as my tag name, then I'm going to find that my project page has all of the posts on Public Lab related to water quality, and there are a lot of them. So you really need something that's specific and unique to your project. And if you can help it, something that's not too complicated. But it's okay if we are stringing some words together to create the project tag name, that's just fine. So maybe I am interested in water quality, but I'm interested in it on Mirror Lake. Okay, so this becomes my project tag name. Now, you'll note here that I put this dash in between. That's because your tag names can't have spaces. So if you want to indicate, separation between words, you can use capitalization. You can also use underscores, or you can use this dash like I've done here. So I'm going to copy this tag name, and actually this is prompting me to delete this text, so I'm just going to delete this. But all the places below where I see the word tag name, I'm going to paste my tag name. Okay, so, and oops, already I noticed there's something that's gone here. There's a space on that, and I need to delete it. Okay, so there's no space. Okay, great. Now I have this in two spots. I have my tag name. This first one up here, this is going to create that button for people to subscribe to your project. This one is going to is commanding the page to collate all the research notes related to your project in one space. And this one down here is going to do the same thing for questions. And then this one down here is going to do the same thing for activities. Now you'll have to make sure that maybe you have a bunch of material up on Public Lab related to your project already. You're going to need to go back and put your project tag name on those pieces. So you would add the tag water quality - Mirror Lake to your research notes, to your questions, to your activities that are related to this project. And that's having those tags is going to make it so that they show up on your project page. Okay. Below here we have the data section, and this is where you can add your maps or your CSV files, or potentially you're sharing out a Google Drive with people who are on your project publicly. This is a great space to share out, what are the products or things that have come out from your work. Great, and so make sure that you do a read through and you replace all the text that you want to here so that you talk about your project. And then once you're finished, hit the publish button, and that's going to create your project page. Now, the one other thing I was going to talk through was quickly here, how do you add activities that are authored by other people? So we talked about how you could add an activity that you author, but to add activities that maybe you found by other people. So you're interested in your project, and you're thinking about like different activities that you can do to move it along. Maybe I'm interested in, let's just go through here and see what's popping up. Let's say that I am really interested in a time lapse related to my project. So, okay, maybe I'm working on this water quality, and I'm really interested in how the flow of the water over into my lake is affecting the lake levels and affecting the water quality. And I'm using time lapse to help document the level of the lake. Okay, so I can go on to here and I can find, search through activities that people have posted. Here we are in this activity section. And maybe there's one, okay, this one is about observing, using a trail camera. Okay, in field deployments, this one's good. This is what I might be looking for. Ooh, water depth, might be another one. And then my project tag. So here's my project tag, water quality Mirror Lake. Okay, I press enter, and then it's going to show up in the activities section of my project page. All right, great. That'll conclude our walkthrough. Don't forget, if you need support or you have questions, join us on the Tuesday call or in the chat room, and we really look forward to seeing your projects up on Public Lab. Thanks so much.